right. Hi, Ashley. How are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
Great. Thank you so much for taking the time to meet with me today. We chatted a little bit about your experience. So, what I'd like to hear now, in your own words, why don't you tell me a little bit about your last job? Let's start with about how long you were there and what your duties were.
Okay. I was at DQ Realty for about 9 years.
Mhm.
Um, I was doing real estate paralegal. Property management was the majority of it. I did accounts payable, answering telephones, answering emails, responding to tenants' situations as far as, roof leaks, plumbing leaks, anything of that nature. Um, Basic office, anything in the office. There were two of us in the office, so between the two of us, we got everything done.
Gotcha. So, you were speaking to like who was calling? Like when you said you were helping people when they called in.
Sure. It could have been prospective tenants looking for space to lease. It could have been current tenants having issues as far as, the most common is roof leaks when it rains, plumbing leaks, the landscaper didn't show up. It could have been a number of um, maintenance issues that needed to be addressed. So it could have been anybody calling, really.
So can you tell me about a time maybe when somebody wasn't so happy and they called and what you did to maybe de-escalate the situation?
Sure. Yeah. There's a lot of them that call when there's a management or a property maintenance issue. Let's say they did have a roof leak and it's leaking on their cash register. Now they're upset because the cash register is wet. So now it's my job to calm them down, tell them, let's figure out if it's actually a roof leak, if it's air conditioning, if it's plumbing. Let's figure out what the source of the water is coming from so that I know who to dispatch out there to get it taken care of as soon as possible, and then we'll get it cleaned up and put back together for you. So that was my job, was just to de-escalate and fix what was broken.
Gotcha. Okay. So, what do you feel that now I worked in property management many, many years ago. So, this question might seem pretty obvious, but maybe someone that's not familiar with property management, do you feel that that's a fast-paced position?
I do. Yeah, I do. I feel like there's always something keeping you busy. It's never the same thing. It's never mundane. It's always something new, and it comes up and then you're like, well, I've never had this one before. Let's figure out what's going on.
Exactly, right? I always felt like it was a new day, and then by the time I was, I get there at 8 a.m., and then by the time I went, it was like 5 o'clock, and I'm like, gosh, where did the day even go? And you have a million different things, so lots of change, lots of fast pace. Tell me a little bit about like your work style. Like, do you like have lots of things all over your desk? Are you more like detailed, like a little OCD?
I
Like, tell
keep
me
a
about that.
notepad. I keep a notepad. I keep everything detailed, like what time you and I are on the phone, and I'm making notes as we're talking on the phone so that I can go back and refer back and be like, oh, well, she said this and she said that. And, we were on the phone for however long it was, 20 minutes, 40 minutes or whatever, until the next call came in. And then this is what they said. And let me just follow up and make notes. I make notes along the way just so that I can refer back in case I forgot something. Let me double check my notes and make sure I didn't skip a step. That's
Okay,
fine.
great. Great. And then like what about like leases? So we were talking before we started to record that your paralegal certificate, that you had some training for paralegal. So I really liked that, and I feel like that could lend to a couple different positions that I'm actually hiring for. Tell me about what skills you feel like that you bring to the table with that certificate and that experience.
So, since I got my associates in legal studies, I've really been in the real estate office. I haven't done family law too much. I did an internship at a family law office, so that was a short period of time. Um, but I am open to learning new things. I know the basic, legal definitions and terms, but I'm definitely open to learning more. What I mainly focused on was the real estate part of it and leases, LOIs, lease terms, triple nets, things like that. That was all, preparing the leases, getting the documents out for signature, bringing them back in, double checking the documents, making sure that they signed everywhere they're supposed to sign, and then making a legal folder with their lease in it. So that is their binding contract.
Yeah. Okay. Great. What about signatures? Like, how were you getting the signatures? Is that like a DocuSign, or were they coming in?
Typically, we did not use DocuSign. I've used DocuSign before, so I'm familiar with DocuSign, but for the leases, we were not using DocuSign. A lot of the times the tenants would come in personally, and that's when they would bring their deposit check, and that's when they would sign their leases. So it was in person most of the time. About 99% of the time was in person.
Okay, great. And just briefly, and I know we talked about it before the recording portion of it, but for the purpose of the recording, why don't you tell me what prompted you to start looking for a new position?
Okay, so I was there for 8.5 years, almost 9 years,
Yep.
and the boss is 85 years old. There's a lot of changes going on within the company in management, and I'm not liking where things were going. So that was when I decided it's my turn to move on. You know, I need to learn more skills. I need to do other things, and I need to further my own career.
Do you feel like there's a sense of uncertainty because of like maybe he's retiring and just not knowing what's coming up next?
Without a doubt, for sure, without a doubt.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm going to stop this portion of the interview, but don't go anywhere. I'll be right back with you.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.